okay, so since you've known me or met me, I was in that, healthier profession. I went through some, I don't want to, I don't want to disclose too much, but my marriage was bad. And I finally got the courage to get out. Through all of that, I mean, I really feel like the last, we've been together, my son's now 14, so we've been together 15 years. But I didn't know who I was. I mean, I really feel like I lost myself in that relationship. I completely stopped being me. And I don't even think I really ever knew who I was, like even growing up, because there was multiple abuse through my life. And I always, I went through therapy and, and worked through it and was so strong and all these things. But I think the defining, moment in my life was just this relationship and going to court and fighting for myself. I didn't have a lawyer, and I actually accomplished what a ton of people were telling me I wouldn't be able to do with. And I think at that moment it was like, oh my God, I can defend myself. I can stick up for myself. I don't have to be the victim anymore. But the next year, I think I've been struggling with who the frick am I as a person? What do I want to do with my life? And I've been riding this wave of what I thought I should be doing, signing on with the boys for Invictus and leaving Lifetime and buying this gym and, trying to do that whole thing. It was riding this wave, like I'm in the fitness industry. I should keep going that way. I should keep doing this. But it just really quickly got away from me and really didn't feel authentic. And when I turned 43, which I'm now 44, I woke up in the morning and I was like, I feel like I need to write a book called 43 and Free. And it was like the freedom that I have now. And what does that mean? And for this next year, I want to explore what being free actually is. And so in April of last year, I was at Yosemite, sitting at Mirror Lake, looking up at the, huge rock formations going, I need to not own this gym. And I need to sell this gym, and I need to do something. And I looked at my grandmother, who I've talked to all my life, and I said, I need to quit. I need to go back. I need to talk to the guys. I need to sell out, and I need to do something else. And she said, what else are you going to do? And I said, I have no idea, but I know it's going to be amazing. And so she's like, I'm all for it, whatever you want to do. So I went home, worked out the deal with Kamal and DJ and Nick, and basically sold out and sat on it for like 3 months, putting weight on as I'm going through this, piling physical weight, and started having back issues, during that whole thing. But I started to draw, and that just snowballed. So it's just snowballed into this complete crazy art thing. And it became very therapeutic, and ended up signing up for a course called Art for Healing and became a facilitator. So I went back to school and went through a semester of certification to become an Art for Healing facilitator. But even through that process, it was very therapeutic. I think I'm at this point in my life right now where I am absolutely doing what I love. I have no idea. I've financially been stable, amazingly, with the art. And I haven't even really gotten into teaching the workshops yet. I do parties and stuff, but just selling my art and doing craft shows and that sort of thing has been very lucrative for me. But in that process, obviously being an artist is sedentary. And so in December, I went back home, and, I'm just like exuding happiness. This whole process has been oh my gosh, I have this positive outlook that I've never had ever in my entire life. And like everything, like I look back at all of the situations. I'm not even mad at my ex-husband anymore, soon to be ex-husband. Because I feel like, that is creating this art. Really, I have this outlet now to express myself that I never used to have. And I don't know if I would be able to, if I didn't have that experience, I wouldn't be as expressive as I am. And it's all, and then I can help other people with it. I mean, there's just all these things that are coming up that are amazing. So I look back at every situation as an opportunity rather than being angry at it. It's like now I'm looking at it as an opportunity to grow and to learn. And, anytime I have a challenge that comes up throughout the day, it's like, what is that teaching me? How can how can that help me tomorrow? That sort of thing. So I stopped. Actually, the biggest hurdle that I have is like really judging my body for, putting on the weight. I'm probably going to get emotional about it, but it's that last piece of abuse, and I'm abusing myself by, like not feeling worthy enough to be healthy. And I kind of came up with that like a few weeks ago. It was actually one of the last Art for Healing classes we had before we graduated. It was mind, body, spirit. And we were painting our body. And it was like, I had this revelation. I was like, I'm the last abuser. I'm the last abuser left. And I'm the worst one. And like my worst enemy. And, my back has been hurting so bad. And, I got on the scale at the doctor's and I was like, what happened to me? But again, I can like kind of look at it and be like, you know what? I'm mentally in the best place that I've ever been in my life, but now it's time to stop abusing myself. And it's time to start getting on track. And, my body is gonna, I can't, I'm not gonna have art if I don't have health, right? So I need to be healthy. I need to live a long life so I can do this for a very long time. And, so I started moving again. And, I got some x-rays done. I have, they said that I have spurring on my vertebrae, which, happens, but a lot of times it doesn't cause pain because you're mobile and active. And I'm not mobile and active as much as I used to be. So, I guess I'm looking for ways to, not beat myself up, not try to jump into this 6-week program, like that's going to get me back into shape, but just really like every day be more mindful, treat myself better, be kinder to myself, like, with my thoughts, feed myself better, move more, have just more approachable goals, but, with the end result being, a healthier mind, body, spirit. That's what I'm going for. Got the mind pretty close, spirit's getting there, better than it ever has. Is the body's, priority now. So.
Okay. Now, is the back the only issue?
I have plantar fasciitis issues in my right foot. I know it's all connected. I mean, I have, I am incredibly tight. Like my hips are super tight. I have been doing a lot of like, I found this gravity yoga thing that I've been doing, which is, spending 3 to 5 minutes in each stretching pose kind of a thing, which feels good. And it allows me to kind of meditate at the same time. But yeah, I mean, it's the plantar, it's the low back. And then I have really bad posture. And now with like being like this with doing art, it's even worse. So headaches happen because of that. So yeah.
You remember like what's the longest lasting injury you've had that was like the first one you can remember right now?
I'd say the plantar fasciitis.
Okay, so that was like the first thing that hasn't gone away.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, and how long ago was that?
Well, that goes back forever. I mean, when I used to run half marathons pretty much every single week. And I, every once in a while I'd struggle through that. But then once I stopped wearing the super supportive shoes and went to like, more like the New Balance. I don't remember what they're called now, but they didn't have any. They had zero drop.
Mm-hmm.
I trained myself. I strengthened my feet to do that. Now that's all long in the past. So yeah, I attempted to start running last year, and within a week I was just in so much pain again. It's like, yeah. So I mean that goes way way back, but probably re-injured it last year.
Mm-hmm. This is so exciting for me. It's great because there's multiple issues and because you have a background in extreme fitness, so your body's gonna receive all of this a lot better than like someone who's been very inactive their entire life. And then number two, because it sounds like the emotional spiritual place you're in is just so much better than a lot of people, because I'm not going to have to bring up that conversation.
Mm-hmm.
You're already in that conversation, so that's awesome. So if plantar fasciitis is the first thing that you remember, I always think of feet as kind of the foundation of your physical potential, right? And this is the scary part. It's like your feet and your neck and your head are like the two most important things. And usually people get back issues because that's like the center point of where the two major problems meet, right? And so have you seen any of the new priming videos with the routines and stuff? Did you do the ankle foot routine at all?
I didn't do the ankle foot routine. I haven't seen that one. I saw the back and the hips.
Cool. So on YouTube, there's 7 of them, and definitely doing the ankle foot routine and doing like the posture. So I nicknamed it the posture routine instead of the neck routine because I just figured more people are seeking out posture help than they are neck help, but they're kind of the same thing.
Mm-hmm.
And so definitely doing those. Like I would love to see what would happen if you did those for like 10 minutes and then just walked around and see what happens.
Mm-hmm.
So this is going to be kind of funny. If you want to back that up, stand up real quick.
Mm-hmm.
So if you're standing and you've got both feet on the ground and you kind of like put your hands, and can you see me like in that position?
Yep.
And you push your hands together, you feel pretty strong, right?
Yes.
Okay, so then take one foot off the ground and see how hard you can push when you have one foot off the ground versus when you have both feet on the ground.
Right. You feel weaker or off balance.
Yeah, right. But isn't that weird that you can sit back down, that your arms feel weaker when a foot is off the ground? That's strange, right?
Mm-hmm.
So think of every muscle in your body, the less stable anything is, the weaker those muscles are going to be.
Mm-hmm.
And so the paradigm that I'm going to operate when I start giving you some of these things to do is that we need to reintegrate stability through every joint in your body, because any single joint will weaken all the others, not because of a direct influence, but because of this thing called the central governor theory. Have we ever talked about this?
Mm-hmm.
So imagine there is a thing in your brain, your sensory motor cortex, right? And it's like a map. They call it the homunculus of everything in your body. And your body's got like these dudes in there that are operating all the controls, kind of like that one Pixar movie, Inside Out.
I didn't see it.
Well, in the movie, they have like the emotion of joy has a character, sadness has a character, fear, disgust. And with each of those characters, they all operate different control systems.
Mm.
And so in your brain, there's a control system. And this broke my mind when I learned this, that your muscles are never going to be stronger or weaker than they are today.
Hmm.
The only difference is how much strength your body will allow you, your nervous system will allow you to access.
Hmm.
And so that's why these like very simple things done in a very specific order and in a very low intensity can have such a wild impact on your overall strength. Because like if your child was getting crushed by a car right now, you would lift that car.
Mm-hmm.
When's the last time you did 10 reps of car lifts?
Right.
Never, right? You wouldn't be able to do it without the adrenaline
Yeah.
and all of those hormones associated, right? And so those hormones allow you to access so much more strength in the moment. You might tear like 50 ligaments and tendons in the process, but you'll lift the car.
Mm-hmm.
And we've all experienced those rushes of energy where suddenly you're capable of so much, right? And then a lot of us have experienced the consequences of those rushes of energy where you overdo it, right? You overtrain, you overperform. And so, with this whole concept of priming, as you watch the videos, you'll see I'm always talking about like go low, low, low intensity, as low as you can get.
Mhm.
Because, and this is a scary thing, that especially for fitness people, if you used to run half marathons, your body is probably so used to operating at a very, very high intensity level and has never been trained to operate at a very, very low intensity level. And like the number one thing you can do for muscles is just tender love and care and just regular communication. But I think a lot of people do regular communication with fitness, they just do it at a very high intensity,
Mhm.
where it's like if you only had super high intensity communication between like your significant other and you, it gets weird and you need the dynamic, the up and the down, right? And in my opinion, I think the down, the low intensity is far more important for longevity,
Mhm.
right? That calmness is more important than the super extreme. The super extreme is great for performance and you'll feel better throughout the day. But if you want to rehab this whole issue and start building this up from the ground, that's like the key. So the first exercises I would start you on would be, and I don't think this first one's in any of the videos, so this is just a custom to you right now.
Mhm.
But specifically because you get those headaches on a regular basis, it's kind of like a 4-point shoulder exercise. So if you sit up here, like good posture, the very first thing you're going to do is you're going to raise up and shrug both shoulders. And just tell me right now, can you feel your traps working?
Oh yeah, that was the first thing I noticed.
So try to keep that position. So stay up, but try to relax the rest of your body and try to just focus on using your traps and bring them to a low intensity and just breathe. It's so tricky, right?
Yeah.
So just trying to hold those at a very low intent, they feel like they just want to like grip, right? And so keep holding, keep holding. So we need to train them to function at a lower intensity. And the only way to do that is just to show them very forcefully, like this, to like take that control and spend that time thinking about those muscles working at a low intensity. Because here's the thing, what's your fatigue level, by the way?
Well, I mean, I think I'm trying more to like relax them because they're just like, ah. So,
Mm.
like, if I were to hold this for a long period of time, I mean, it would be like a 5, maybe.
Okay, cool. Keep going, keep going. And then also, I have so many questions for you while you're doing this. It's so funny, but right to left, do they feel different?
My left feels like it wants to work harder than my right.
Okay, so it's like it's
Like,
gripping harder.
yeah, like I feel like this side is, yeah, more fatigued.
Mhm. And then slowly relax them and bring them down and just kind of like relax the body and just breathe. And so I think of this as like a water pipe. Go ahead and slowly raise up. And what you're doing here is it's so funny because it's 100% placebo in the sense of the reason this benefits you is because you're thinking about it.
Hmm.
And we just never think about muscles at a low intensity in these very specific positions that are used all the time. Like, how often are you shoulder shrugging and not realizing you're doing it?
Yeah.
Every time you carry a grocery bag, every time you put on a backpack, every time you like pick up a pillow or anything, but we're just like using the muscle. We're never going in and checking on the muscle.
Hmm.
And so this concept of priming, and you'll see like at the end of every video, I put the same ender where it's like, yo, it's the whole body. Like it's always everything, but here's what to start with. Are you fatiguing at all or are you good?
I'm okay. I'm just like, it's I think I've always had like crazy traps. I mean, anybody that's touched my neck has went, whoa,
Super
you
tight.
chill out, because it's like a rock. So
Mhm.
it's more of I guess they're probably like, somebody might say that they're like at an 8 or 9, but I'm like, oh, I could hold this forever because I'm used to it, you know.
Yikes. So go ahead and relax. I've got three things. Number one, you always have the same amount of tension in your body, no matter what. Like you're kind of always going to deal with the same amount of tension. The question is, how many of your muscles are sharing that tension? And so a lot of times when we have tight muscles, we think that we need to loosen the tension when the real thing is like we need to tighten everyone who's not helping,
Mm-hmm.
because gravity's not going anywhere. So if you loosen too far, that's a bad thing. However, if we tighten but feel looser, we're actually more efficient.
Mm-hmm.
The second thing is with your plantar fasciitis, do you feel it just walking around?
Well, yeah, like this morning I limped down the stairs.
Okay. So like right now when you stand up, do you feel it?
um I know where it is. I went on a walk on the beach this morning, so it was bothering me a little bit. It doesn't hurt like at this very second, but I know that it's there.
If you do a calf raise, can you feel it?
No.
And then what about a lunge? Do you feel it?
Yes, on my, yeah, on the back foot, the foot that's up,
Cool,
in the
cool.
back with my toes down. Yeah.
Perfect. So when it comes to the beginning stages of like priming, where we're trying to take care of symptoms and we're trying to figure out what these causes are, I always like to find something like that. Like now we know, okay, on a lunge, on the back foot, you feel it.
Mm-hmm.
And so our first goal is like, let's do the bare minimum we have to do to eliminate that symptom.
Mm-hmm.
And that can be in like 5 minutes. It just depends on, are we targeting the right thing or not? And then also how much you want to target the symptom versus just heal the whole body,
Mm-hmm.
right? So doing all of the primes and getting different muscles to function and pay attention to how they feel. Like you said with the traps, like as soon as you do the raise, you're like, wow, I can't relax.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
really hard.
Yeah.
Um, so second exercise is the pinch back.
Mm-hmm.
And then you're just trying to hold the pinch back and still feel those rhomboids, those traps working, the lower traps and the middle traps,
Mm-hmm.
and trying to relax these. Good luck.
You know, right?
Yep.
You could probably see them.
Uh, so you're just trying to pinch, you're trying to feel equal amounts on the right and the left side. And then you're trying to keep in the pinch, keep feeling those muscles, but lower the intensity.
Yeah, they cramp pretty quickly.
Ooh, okay. So if you ever get cramping or pain, reduce the range of motion a little bit. So instead of maybe pinching fully, just go like partial pinch.
Mm-hmm.
Wow, they cramp on both sides.
Yeah.
Okay, Virginia. And then how are you doing with the intensity? Are you able to lower it?
Yeah, that this one's easier than the traps.
Okay. And just holding. Oh, so the water pipe thing. So imagine each muscle has its own water pipe. And so over years, over trauma, over exercises, we get gunk that builds up in that pipe. And what we need to do is we need to run clean water through that pipe and wear away at the gunk inside until we have that nice clean flow of energy, right? Of nervous system control. And when we do these very low intensity exercises and we hold it, imagine a good muscle contracts about 70 times a second.
Hmm.
It's so fast that if you've ever seen like movies or reality TV shows, those are filmed at 60 frames per second. They look super smooth.
Mm-hmm.
You can't even tell that it's actually in frames because it's so fast.
Mm-hmm.
Muscles contract faster than that.
Mm-hmm.
So
Wow.
it's so fast that they're actually shaking at a very, very fast intensity. And then bad muscles still shake at a much slower pace. So you might feel when you're doing this, are you feeling like sort of a jittering?
Yeah.
So that's like when a muscle isn't performing very well, you're going to feel that jittering. And when muscles perform very well, you're going to think it's not jittering, but it's actually jittering so fast that it feels like it's not.
Mm-hmm.
Does that make sense? So the goal is to work on consistency. So it's like, it's so funny, but like, can I squeeze my bicep and can I hold that squeeze at a very specific intensity and relax the muscles around it to the extent where it doesn't feel like it's shaking?
Hmm.
It's a very challenging thing when you actually try to do it. Are you still pinching or are you taking a break?
No, I'm still pinching.
Cool. What's fatigue level?
I'm pretty tired. I mean, there, like I want to stop.
Cool,
So,
cool. Relax, relax. Just breathe. So none of this is going to be about the intensity or soreness. It's always going to be about, can I feel the muscle and can I spend time feeling the muscle?
mhm,
So it's so much more about your sensitivity and your control than it is about your exertion.
mhm,
Does that make sense? And so it's really cool because I'm creating these video series now with people, which maybe you'll be in the future, where I'm actually in person and I'm taking people through all the priming exercises, giving the public everything that they're doing, and then taking each person to a gym and showing them how to integrate all of this into movements.
mhm,
And so the real thing for me is like, I still prime every day and do this type of stuff. And it's just like you just pick some new ones every day. It's never like, for me, it's not about getting rid of any injuries because I feel great, but it is about tuning in every day and being like, okay, who have I not checked on recently? And it's just the same as like, um, let's say you gave a client like a 3 month program
mhm,
and you just never checked on them for 3 months. Do you think they're going to succeed at the end of it?
mhm. Right. No.
Probably not, right?
Yeah.
And so it's the same with my muscles, but like once they get bad, it's a lot harder to fix them than just keeping them good.
Mhm,
And then the third movement is you're probably going to want to find something to push your hands into. So I'm going to back up right here. It would be something, oh, actually, I can just tilt you. Love that. So you're going to get your elbows and your hands, and you're just going to push down like a dip sort of movement.
mhm.
You don't actually have to push into anything, but it does help with feeling the right muscles. You should feel like your lower chest, maybe either your lats pushing a little bit, and interior of your shoulder, like inside your armpit area.
Okay.
And you're just trying to hold that at a low intensity and trying not to shake a lot. You
Okay.
able to feel those?
Yeah.
Does it feel really different from side to side?
My right side feels more fatigued than my left, or like it's working, it wants to work harder.
Mm, okay. And so what we're doing, keep going, keep going. So what we're doing is we're creating this sensitivity and stability of your shoulder girdle on both sides, which is where all of your neck muscles base their stabilization off of. And we're affecting your rib cage, which are basically giant crowbars attached to your spine.
Mm,
And so if your rib cage is unstable or moves too much or is too tight, your spine's not going anywhere.
mhm,
And so a lot of this like posture stuff, I mean, again, it could be anywhere in your body, but just stabilizing the shoulder girdle, I'm going to be really interested to see once we get through all four of these to try the lunge and just see what the reduction is, or if there's no change, that's cool too, because a lot of this is going to be helping with the headaches and things like that. But again, it could be any muscle in your body, and this is just a beautiful start to getting some stability in your upper body. And it's so funny that um, like a long time ago, I used to think you'd have to create muscle and create strength to gain stability, where I couldn't have been like any farther from the truth of like actually creating calmness is creating strength and stability.
interesting. Hmm.
How's fatigue level?
I'm able to relax this one, at like a lower intensity a lot more than the other one. So I'm I'm not fatigued.
Beautiful. And are you feeling all those muscles?
Yes.
Amazing. So this is what it should feel like, is like it's easy to hold that low intensity. And this is what it feels like when you're just really healthy and you're like, okay, when you find muscles like this, it's just as important to work on them as it is the muscles that are horrible, because the more good muscles you work on, the easier it's going to be to get those bad muscles to join these guys.
Hmm.
So these muscles are the ones that create stability for the rest of them to function.
Okay.
Oh, another really fun analogy. Imagine if you had 5 employees that had to go clean whatever facility you're in, and 2 of those employees decided to go eat lunch and screw around, and 3 of them did all of the work. Who are you going to hear from as the boss? The 2 that did nothing, or the 3 that had to do way more?
Yeah, the 3.
Yeah. And then who is in trouble? The 3 that are complaining, or the 2 that are the cause, but we didn't hear from?
The 3 that are complaining.
And so, why do we treat our muscles like this, right? It's like we get these tight, angry muscles, and those really aren't the ones that are the problem. Those are the ones that we're feeling. And that's why this concept that I talk about all the time of sensitivity is so important, because we're trying to gain sensitivity so that we know the whole picture. We're trying to learn, gain more knowledge, rather than swat and play like whack-a-mole.
So, I mean, I've talked to you and I've talked to Jonathan a lot in the past. So, I mean, I kind of understand, the theory behind what you guys do. But I still like, for me to tell you that I'm spending time stretching, are you like, ah?
So stretching in itself is not a bad thing, but the reasons why we stretch are probably wrong.
Hmm.
And so that comes down to this concept of like, what is tension and what is tightness and what's the result we're actually looking for.
Well, like his explanation was, so he calls it gravity yoga. And he said, a lot of like yoga classes that you go to are more of a demonstration of strength or flexibility versus actual flexibility. So you have to learn how to turn off your nervous system in order for your muscles to want to let go and stretch. Otherwise, you're kind of like in this fight or flight thing, and it's just not going to happen. So you need to like learn how to relax into it, and then you actually start getting more mobility and more flexibility and that sort of thing. So there's very few poses that he puts us into, and it's like a 15-minute thing where you're spending 5 minutes in 3 different positions, and you do that like one area per day versus like everything. And
Mm,
I don't know, I mean, I feel better doing it. I mean, the positions are a little different than I'm used to, but and like the way that he has you like manipulating your body, but I often wonder if it's kind of against what is helping me,
yeah.
it's not on the right track.
Yeah. And so this comes down to just why I think videos like this are so important and why I want to share them a lot,
Mm-hmm.
is so that you can continuously dive in and hear more stories and more of these analogies and things. But yeah, so with like this concept of stretching, it just comes down to what are we actually looking to achieve? And a lot of people say they go to yoga because they want to relax. And I'm like, hey, you're totally going to achieve that. You will feel more relaxed. But if you're going to yoga because you want to physically, mechanically function better, it may work for like a short period of time, but it's not a good long term plan. And that's not to say that all yoga or all stretching is bad. It's that it's not engineered to mechanically take care of you long term.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Loosening tension is whack a mole, right?
Mm-hmm.
Whereas like figuring out why there's tension and then balancing out and harmonizing that tension is a better plan. So I think about it a lot like if there's a spider web, if you can imagine like 18 strands of this all interlocking, right? You want like your body, your movement, you want to be able to do push-ups, you want to be able to walk or run. You need tension to do that, right? And we need equal amounts of tension. So you see like a 5-year-old who runs around and falls 2 stories off a slide and then they just keep running and you're like, what the heck just happened? It's because they have really healthy levels of tension all across their body. So it just like takes it and then it just rebounds and they're good to go, right? And as we age, these different strings, like different ones of these in this circular pattern, get loosened, right? And now they can't really take tension, but if there's something really extreme, they'll still help us
Mm-hmm.
until the point where maybe they tear, which is another fun story. I have lots of stories about that. But what we're trying to do with this whole concept of priming or nervous system or muscle activation, right, is we're trying to take these loosened strings and we're just trying to figure out which ones are loose. And the problem with the loose ones is when you hit the web, they don't tighten, so you can't find them.
Hmm.
Right? You can find the tight ones
Mhm.
because they're going to be like, ow, ow, that's cramping, right? Or like you said, with your traps and your back,
Mhm.
like those are the ones that are like, oh, I really have to like chill out because they're really intense. And so to find the loose ones, we have this thing I'm showing you now, right? These priming exercises where we can go around and we can be like, oh, I can't really feel that as much as this other one, or I feel this one a lot and this one just a little. And so it's more so trying to get the one that's feeling a little to get better as opposed to the one that's feeling a lot to feel less.
Mhm.
Because if I ever fight my body in that way and I try to fight the tension, I'm going to lose long term. And the main point I think about with that is that your body is just so much smarter than all of us and no one understands how it works. So I'm just gonna like trust it and believe that it's doing the right thing.
I turned you off. How do I get you back on here? Back to meeting. Oh, my phone started ringing. That's why.
Oh, got it. Yeah. So the last exercise is the forward. So it's the last of that square. So it's that rolling in and it's that tension in your chest. Now there's a lot of ways to do this one. You can just roll forward like that and then squeeze these pec muscles and the front of your shoulder muscles. You can also do like the whole prayer thing or like a full fly like that
This
and
one.
do a squeeze. A lot of times these ones feel good, but if you have any kind of shoulder tension, that might hurt. And then you can just do the roll in with your arms down. How's that feel?
This I feel like with this one I can engage it, but not overdo it.
Cool. And then if your wrists have any issues, you can also just do an interlocking with fists. So for anyone who's watching that too. And then the goal is just to get an equal amount of force through the chest on either side. How are you feeling side to side?
This one is pretty even.
Cool. And do you feel like you can feel all the different areas?
Yes.
Beautiful. And just hold that. So again, this is one of those ones I get really excited when you have good muscles because those are going to provide the most amount of release of tension because they can take over for the ones that need help. And so just holding that and keep trying to lower that intensity. So I kind of think of it as like tighten the muscle and then see if you can slowly just loosen it, but keep it feeling. And in that way, it's so funny. You can actually feel your body loosening as you do that.
I actually with this one it makes it like I feel that the most. I feel like how I can keep like the pressure the same, but like relax more.
Mm. And this is a great example of another. It's just awesome because now you know what it feels like.
And that these other ones will be different next time. Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah, that's weird because I definitely wasn't able to do that on the shrug.
Yeah. And
Breathe.
it,
Oh, yeah, I forgot about that.
yeah. It's so interesting that um, like so little time. Like you could literally spend 10 minutes just doing like 30 seconds, 30 seconds, 30 seconds, 30 seconds, right? And just doing those just a couple rounds through, and it can like dramatically shift hours of your day to be so much better. Because there's like another
This
really
one,
cool, what is it?
this one's pretty fatigued.
Oh yeah. So yeah, and then when you get to that point of fatigue, you can just relax. Now, the healthier you are, you can push that fatigue level if you want. And this is where we start to bridge. You'll start to see where the bridge gaps into exercise happen, where it's like, oh, could I do that same thing when I do my chest press exercises at the gym, where I'm focusing on feeling and relaxing versus trying really hard for a certain number of reps, or I'm more so going for an intensity than I am reps.
Hmm.
And
So
again, yeah.
no, go ahead.
And it just comes back again to asking the deeper question of why am I doing anything? And then just serving that outcome, not I need to finish this pre-designed workout.
Mhm. So you had said, our bodies have as much strength as we'll ever have. It's just like, how do we access that? To get, so you don't get stronger. You just learn how to use your muscles in a different way.
Yeah, essentially. There are some structural things that change, right? So you store more energy in your tissues, your ligaments, your tendons, your bones get stronger. The synapses in your brain, you can get more connections, right? So there are some things that change, but the total amount of strength you have access to doesn't shift as much as we think it does.
Okay,
So
good.
when you go through a training program, you're training your nervous system to allow you to use more strength on a regular basis, and then your bones, your ligaments, and your tendons are getting stronger, and you are getting more nervous system connections. But you don't necessarily need to lift heavier weight to do all of those things. You just need more force inside your body. And so, question for you: do the flex your bicep exercise.
Hmm.
Now, flex at a really low intensity, and
Like
then try to flex at a very high. What's
okay,
up?
where I'm just focusing on the bicep and not anything around it, like the lats and.
Yeah. So you're attempting to focus on just the bicep. All those other guys are going to help. And then try to flex really high intensity. And let everybody help a little bit.
Mhm.
So you feel like all kinds of weird stuff going on when you do that, right? Shoulder, wrist, like everyone's engaging.
Mhm.
The internal amount of force on your body is going to be a lot and maybe more than the external force of like a dumbbell.
Mhm.
Because like it's so crazy. When I did cadaver anatomy, we studied like how many pounds of force are being moved around just to do day-to-day actions, and it's absurd. Like sometimes it's tens of thousands of pounds
Hmm.
to get. Because you think about, oh, this gets really nerdy really fast. I'm just gonna like one quick one because it's just fun for me. But like, so imagine your bicep, right? So it comes down and attaches here. If you had a muscle that attached into my eyeball to here, it would be like a really good leverage fulcrum, right?
Mhm.
Because it could just pull directly.
Mhm.
It still would be better if it was attached here, right? Because you'd have more leverage.
Mhm.
Your freaking bicep is attached up here and has to come down against the bone and then wrap up and then pull. It's literally got to pull through that angle to
Mhm.
move your. That's insane, right? Like how much easier would it be to just pull this
Yeah.
than it would be to like somehow do that whole, and then just thinking about every muscle in your body and how hard it actually has to work
Mhm.
to move.
Mhm.
And so it gave me a lot of respect for like, oh, like me lifting 145 pounds on a bench press is really not that big of a deal in the grand scheme of how much force my body's playing with.
Mm. Yeah. Makes sense.
And again, it's like training my body to relax and to calm down in as many movements as possible. And it bridges into that other concept of transference, where it's like the way you do anything is the way you do everything. And if I can constantly teach my body to reduce stress in every situation, it bleeds over into every area of my life.
Yeah. I've learned that pretty much this year.
Mhm.
Yeah.
So, quick question. Let's do just a quick round of those four now. So let's do traps and just holding, breathing. Don't forget to breathe. Engage. Make sure you feel them. Try to feel them equally, really focusing on them. And slowly relaxing. And then rolling the shoulders forward. Let's do the chest one.
It was
Yeah.
better.
Yeah. And then just engaging the chest on both sides. trying to feel those muscles equally. The top of the chest, the bottom of the chest. If you try this is kind of interesting. So if you do the fist and then rotate underneath and come lower, you'll feel more of your lower chest engage. And again, just trying to do that super low intensity. And then relaxing. And then shoulder blades pinching back. And you don't have to do full range, just pinch back and feel. Just trying to feel them equally. And still breathing. And relaxing. And then arms and pushing down through the shoulder blades. Again, trying to feel them equally, trying to relax into that position, but still squeeze the muscles. And then slowly relaxing. Yeah, how's that feel? Just moving around.
Yeah, I mean, I can tell that it does. It makes me feel more like solid is like a word that comes to mind.
Mhm.
Yeah,
Mhm.
yeah.
How did the traps feel on that round?
Not as angry.
Cool. And now let's try the lunge real quick and just let me know. I'm curious if the shoulders affected that at all.
Yeah, actually it's not pulling at all on the bottom of my foot. I
Ooh,
used to have like you could feel like I'd feel like it was like one connection from my heel to my toe. I don't feel that anymore. Yeah. Yeah,
that's
that's
kind of crazy.
pretty awesome.
That's kind of crazy. Sweet.
Yeah.
I- yeah. Yeah. And
Interesting.
so, I mean, I could talk about this for days of why this kind of stuff happens. So, the important part to connect, there's two things. Number one, um, like if you ever feel that come up, now you know these four exercises are potentially this area is causing in some way that symptom, right?
Hmm.
So that's a potential. So anytime you feel that, do these exercises. And another really fun thing to do is test which one of those four exercises has a bigger impact if it ever comes back. So, like for me, it'd be really fun to be like, oh, let's just try this one and then test the lunge. And then if it didn't, then test this one and then test the lunge.
I don't know when the last time I've gotten out of bed has been that I didn't have pain. So I think I'll do that in the morning is I'll
Mhm.
just sit before I even put my feet on the ground.
Mm,
I'll do maybe I'll do all of them and then, see if it feels better just to walk downstairs and then
absolutely.
next day I'll just try one at a time and see what affects
Mhm.
it. Okay.
Yeah. Could you? Oh, that's so exciting. I'm really excited to hear how that goes.
Hmm. Yeah. I'll let you know for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's a good starter. And then I would say doing the foot and ankle routine on the video.
Hmm.
And then just now that you know what it feels like to squeeze and then lower the intensity, if you can train like your knee extension, like your quads,
Hmm.
would be a game changer. And then I'm curious to see too, as you train the feet and the neck, like we just did, how that's going to affect your back.
Yeah. Well, I know that, I went to physical therapy at Kaiser and I was actually telling her about MAT. And she was like, oh my gosh, that sounds amazing. Like she was really kind of on board with it, which I was surprised. But we were talking about the pelvic tilt. Like she said, I have, definitely more of an exaggerated anterior pelvic tilt.
Mhm.
And is that right? Yes. And so she was like, you know, when I hike, that's when I feel the most problem with my back. But if I can focus on just like, you know, kind of engaging my lower abdominal muscles, like those Kegel muscles,
Mhm.
and kind of tipping my pelvis under, I don't have any pain when I hike whatsoever. And
Yeah.
so, you know, she's like, you've got to get those muscles activated that are, you know, weak down there right now. And so that's what brought up the conversation. We were talking about it. So that's what first triggered me to look at your stuff, was that video on the pelvic tilt.
Amazing. Amazing.
Yeah. So the one that hurts and I tried was the toe, pushing the toe into the mat. I like can't do that without totally cramping.
Yeah. Okay. So what you'll do if this is your foot and this is your big toe,
Mm-hmm.
what you'll do is instead of pointing the foot and pushing down into the mat, you're going to want to get like a pillow or something hard, like a water bottle, put it underneath the foot. So if this is the flat surface,
Mm-hmm.
you're going to have it elevate and then push down.
Okay.
Yeah. So the further you come out of the range of motion, the less you'll cramp. And that goes for anyone for any exercise. If you're getting cramping or pain, just reduce the range of motion and then try the exercise. And if you can't do it in any position, then do muscles around it and then come back to it.
Yeah. I was like, oh, I can't do it. Can't.
Mhm.
Not even for
It's,
1 second.
yeah.
Even just the pointing the foot thing, it makes
Oh, dude, Virginia, just imagine like you can't even do a toe curling exercise, a very simple one, without cramping. Imagine if we can train your feet muscles to function, because that imagine cramping is like 110% intensity, right? And your feet muscles can't not function like that right now.
yeah.
And if we can train them to like lower that down, how much different your whole body is going to function.
Yeah. So that's the foot and ankle one that you want me to work on.
Yeah, so the foot and ankle video, you'll see there's like some eversion, some inversion. Also, the knee video
Mm-hmm.
has some different ankle exercise. I mean, I kind of arbitrarily named the videos because you should just be doing all of them, but I wanted to break it up into segments so that people would feel comfortable starting with something.
Okay.
But I would say like there's 7 videos and they're engineered to be like Monday through Sunday.
Okay.
And then there's actually another cool thing I'll send you a demo of. I've got audio recordings walking you through. I'm doing the exercises, talking you through them for each of those videos.
Okay. Yeah, that would be fantastic. Yeah, and I referred somebody to your shoulder video because he was saying like anytime he does anything with his arms, his shoulders are killing him. So
Yeah, 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 great stuff.
okay, well, thank you.
Yeah. And then maybe sometime in the next, before I leave California, maybe we can get together and I can show you some of the other stuff or workout stuff and have like a more intense deep dive.
Or maybe you need some help in New Zealand.
Yep. Yep, for sure.
If I can swing that, I would.
Cool.
Well, thank you for your time. I really appreciate it.
Yeah.
And I'll definitely, I'm already subscribed to your page, so I'll just go on there and dig through and look for those other videos.
Hmm. Amazing. Yeah. Keep me posted. Keep me updated. Message me. I'm excited to hear about tomorrow morning.
Okay, will do.
Sweet.
All right, my friend. Thank
Yeah.
you.
Okay.
Okay, bye.